The #1 leadership skill: mastering your emotional state. Every leader walks into the room with an emotional baseline. It is the steady state your team expects from you and the one they silently measure themselves against. Your baseline becomes the psychological climate your people operate in. Most leaders never think about this. They think about strategy, KPIs, scripts, deadlines, metrics, and performance plans. But your emotional baseline drives all of that. It determines whether your team feels safe enough to take risks, confident enough to perform under pressure, comfortable enough to bring you problems early, and steady enough to stay in the fight when the day gets heavy. Baseline is the emotional average you live in. Some leaders are chronically tense. Some are unpredictable. Some are disengaged. Some are distracted. Some are calm and consistent. And some leaders, the ones who build performance machines, walk in with a baseline that is confident, composed, and steady. That is the baseline that produces high-octane teams like the one you lead. My team knows my baseline. They know I do not rattle easily. They know I bring a calm intensity to the table. They know they can come to me with a deal falling apart at 7 p.m., and I will not blow up or panic or start finger-pointing. They know I will take a breath, look at the facts, and help them fight through it. My baseline gives them permission to stay level and keep problem-solving. They also know that I come in driven. They know I come in focused. They know I show up sharp because I take care of myself. They know that my energy is high because I work out consistently, because I ground myself with routines, because I take rest days to stay sharp, and because I protect my mindset every morning before I step into leadership mode. Your baseline sends a message. It tells your team how to react to adversity. It tells them how to behave under pressure. It tells them how much emotional space they have when they fail. It tells them whether they can come to you early with problems or whether they should wait until the fire is too big to hide. Here is what most leaders get wrong. They think their emotional baseline is something they can hide. They think they can mask frustration. They think they can pretend they are fine when they are burned out or overwhelmed. But teams are too smart for that. People have radar for misalignment. If you say everything is fine but your energy is tight, they feel the truth. When your baseline is off, their performance will be off. High-performing teams calibrate themselves to their leader. That is why consistency matters so much. A consistent emotional baseline gives people the confidence to operate without flinching. It lets them play big instead of playing scared. When your team knows who you will be every day, they stop wasting energy trying to read you and start focusing on the work. I have seen the opposite in my career. I have seen leaders whose emotional baseline was unpredictable. Their teams walked on eggshells. People were afraid to ask questions, afraid to bring up issues, afraid to admit mistakes. Performance tanked not because the people were bad, but because the emotional space around them was unstable. Great leadership is emotional leadership, and emotional leadership begins with your baseline. Your job is not to be emotionless. Your job is to be consistent. Your team does not need you perfectly calm every moment. They need to know that your default state is steady, caring, and engaged. That becomes the baseline they rise to. They will not rise above you emotionally. They will only rise with you. When you elevate your emotional baseline, you elevate your entire team's performance capacity. This book is about helping leaders do exactly that. Next section: why teams feel leaders more than they hear them. People may listen to a leader's words, but they live inside a leader's energy. Teams respond first to what they feel, not what they are told. Leadership is emotional before it is intellectual. Before your message gets processed, your energy gets absorbed. Most leaders underestimate this because they assume communication is something they say. But teams do not follow tone first. They follow presence. They follow state. They follow the emotional signal you transmit the moment you show up. This is why the same words can inspire, frustrate, motivate, or deflate depending on the energy behind them. You can give the right feedback with the wrong presence and completely miss. You can deliver a tough message with steady, caring energy and have someone walk away feeling supported. Your energy determines the meaning of your message. Agents on my team feel me long before they hear me. They know my volume does not change much, but my intensity does. They can tell when I am fully present versus when something is pulling at my attention. They can feel whether I am grounded or rushed. They pick up on subtle cues from how I lean in, how I make eye contact, and the calmness in my breathing. When I am centered, my team opens up. When I am locked in, they get sharper. When I am energized, they lean forward. When I am stressed, even if I say nothing, they feel the constraint and the room tightens. We like to think adults are immune to emotional contagion, but the opposite is true. Adults, especially in high-pressure fields like real estate and sales, are even more sensitive to their leader's internal state. This is how humans are wired. We respond to the emotional tone of the person who holds authority, structure, and direction. It is a survival instinct. We read the leader to understand how safe we are and how fast we should move. I have seen this play out in every environment I have led in. In the Air Force, your superior's tone told you everything you needed to know about the gravity of the moment. In insurance sales, if I walked in inspired, the room leveled up instantly. In training and development, new managers needed emotional stability from me as much as they needed technical guidance. In my current role leading a high-octane real estate team, agents read my internal state within seconds because they need to know how to prepare themselves for the day. As a leader, your energy is always broadcasting. Even silence sends a signal. A calm silence communicates presence. A tense silence communicates danger. A distracted silence communicates disconnection. Great leaders master their emotional signal. Not by faking it, not by pretending, but by grounding themselves, taking care of themselves, and walking into the room from a centered place. When you do that, your team feels aligned with you instead of absorbing your stress. Here is the truth. Your team will forget some of your words. They will forget some of your speeches. They will forget some of your feedback. But they will always remember how you made them feel. And what they feel determines how they perform. This is why leadership is a transfer of energy. Your presence shapes the emotional climate your team operates in. When your energy is clear, consistent, and grounded, your team rises to meet it. When your energy is chaotic, drained, or inconsistent, your team will scatter emotionally, whether they mean to or not. The goal of this chapter is to help leaders understand this truth so they can operate with intention. When you master the energy people feel, you elevate the performance they deliver. This video is from Chapter 1, Sections 2, and 3 of my book, Lead Like This, The Energy Advantage. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you. Together, we all can be the force for good in leadership.